Together, we're taking a look at the new...
The only link between Versailles and the capital was an old drover's track. It had been used for bringing cattle to the markets of Paris. In other words, Versailles was in the middle of nowhere.
The seat of power was Paris. The royal residence was the Palace of the Louvre. The nobles had their homes close by, which meant they could attend on the king and still enjoy salon society in the capital. And vive la différence.
But Louis was passionate about outdoor pursuits. He really enjoyed country life. He began to spend more and more time at Versailles. After the dukes and duchesses, the counts and marquises had made it out to Versailles, there was nowhere decent for them to stay.
According to Madame de Sévigné, after one visit to Versailles, the courtiers were in a fury because they said the king didn't take care of any of them and there was scarcely a hole to take shelter in.
The courtiers came up with a new witticism, a bon mot. Versailles, they said, is a mistress without merit. This hunting lodge into his plans. And it's still there, right at the heart of the later building. Louis added additions that are still known as the envelope, literally enveloping the original building.
From sleeping a cosy 15 or so extra guests, this first phase of construction provided room at Versailles for 600 of Louis's closest friends. And that was just the start.
Louis's solution to the problem of his nobles shows just how good he was at wielding what you might call soft power. He'd watched and learned from the mistakes of other kings, like Charles I of England, for example. He had taken up arms to defend his royal prerogative, and look what happened to him. But Louis wanted to wage war with refinement. He planned to devastate his enemies with his hospitality. He was going to overwhelm them with fancy titles that didn't necessarily mean anything. And above all, he intended to emasculate them by making them do trivial jobs in his household, here at his new country home of Versailles.
The palace was under scaffolding for years at a time, and the gardens here looked pretty much like a quarry.
Up to 36,000 people were slaving away here, and they were labouring under conditions you can only describe as horrendous. With all this surveillance going on, there was only one way to keep a secret. You had to write it in cipher. Secret code. Rossignol was the greatest cryptographer of the 17th century. He came up with a code that was so complex that after it fell out of regular use, it baffled cryptographers for centuries. Had created the ultimate power base. It's tempting to see all this crazy ritual and extravagance as just another example of absolute power corrupting absolutely. You'd think that this combination of luxury and cruelty would lead to violent collapse.
But in Louis's case, it didn't. The country was no longer torn apart by feuding nobles, and France became renowned for its culture and sophistication.
On his deathbed, Louis pronounced, "I depart, but the state will always remain." Well, remain it did, at least for a while. And what will surely always remain is Louis's Palace of Versailles.
Could you survive as a courtier to the Sun King in Versailles? Go online and test yourself at bbc.co.uk/iwonder. And the first